All right, so thank you guys for doing this. We want to cover specifically the IDW verse here, what the great work IDW Comics has been doing for the Turtles and stuff to come. We're going to do this kind of universe by universe, starting in the Ronin verse. So, Ben, I know you've told this story before, but can you share the story of how the 4 new Turtles came to be?
Yeah, at least from my perspective, I know Kevin and Tom were probably talking about it before I heard about it, but it was very good news. One day I was calling Kevin to let him know we were having a baby girl, and he goes, "Oh, guess what else? you're gonna be designing the 4 new baby turtles." And I was like, "What? This is too much. I can't handle it." So my life has been all about babies for a while, and then of course we got to see them grow up into the teenagers that they are now in Re-Evolution, which is the 3rd series that we're on. But the design process, is that what you want to hear a little bit about?
Yeah. Broad strokes on
yeah, it was awesome. The main objective was, make them different from each other, so they're very recognizable without bandanas and without weapons. And at the time, I don't think they had told me for sure, but the idea was that they would all use all 4 weapons, just like the Ronin, which I thought was brilliant. And then Kevin sent me an email with 4 or 5 attachments of 30,000 different turtle species. And so I just looked at all the different heads and shells and spikes and claws and spots and stripes, and I kind of just let it sink in. And then I had a lot of fun. It was actually around Granite Con, I think it was the year before last year. And so I was able to show a lot of the designs I was doing to different artists, and everybody was kind of picking their top 4. And I ended up doing 12 different designs. I have a book over at my table of all 12 of the baby designs, so you get to see the ones that didn't make the cut, and then of course the 4 that did. But it was a lot of fun, and I wasn't nailed down to one species as far as like snapping turtle or wood turtle or anything like that. I just wanted, to have fun, and any of the lines or the movements of my hand that I was making, I kind of based all their designs on just like what feels good to draw. Like Yee's got the circles on her shoulders because that's like the movement I make before I do a shoulder or something, and then the bands around the arm. And I figured if it's pleasant to draw and I have fun with every line, then people will have fun with the final project.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Next question is for Kevin and Tom. Can you guys explain how you found the voices for the new Turtles and how you wanted to make sure they differed from the original 4?
It's, I guess, speaking for both Tom and I, the wonderful thing about working, much like working with Peter, working with Tom was a wonderful evolution of what feels right, what feels good for story. Tom, one of my many amazing things I love about Tom is his storytelling is always story first. So we sort of let things evolve, and I think, when we evolved, just say the thing when we created the concept of the 4 turtles, the 4 new turtles for that last panel in Last Ronin 1, we were already starting to think about a number of ways of how we were going to bring them to life. And one of the things was that we stressed about the most was the names. Mm-hmm. And it was like, we name them this and name them that, because that's, the natural evolution of the turtles' names from Renaissance artists was perfect. And it was like, it was this, and Tom mentioned to me one day, he said, wouldn't it be fun to call one of them like number 1, like in Star Trek? And I was like, that lit a spark in me, and I said, so I started looking up different words and different words in different languages for the number 1. And so we broke them down, and we said, well, Casey Marie, who's training him, they're all going to be number 1 in her heart. So we named them, so Uno, Odin, it's all number 1 in different languages, and we fell in love with it, and that was what made that perfect. And the personalities, I think, are still evolving.
Yeah, the personalities, one of the things that I wanted to lead into, we didn't want carbon copies of the original 4, but we wanted kind of that essence of the original 4, but kind of spread out amongst the turtles. So they each kind of have a little bit of the other 4 turtles in them, but there's also modern sensibilities and actually modern issues that teenagers deal with today that we wanted to kind of cover. So there's Yee's a bit on the autism spectrum. We wanted her to kind of be this, she's the mechanical kind of Donatello of the group, but she has an interesting way of seeing the world that's different than the other turtles. But Moja is kind of more the natural leader, but she's kind of like a Raph where she pulls back. And Uno is like Leo in the sense of how he's trained and how well he handles the training and the ability to fight, but he's kind of a jerk. He's kind of pompous. And then my favorite is Odin. Odin for me was love at first sight when Ben brought the designs in. I said, I don't care what we do with the other turtles, this guy's staying. And Odin was just that big chunky little guy that I just fell in love with right away. But he's kind of the Mikey of the group. But what we're finding in Re-Evolution is he's kind of hardcore too when it comes time to fight, you know, and so you don't expect that to come from Odin, who's usually really sensitive and loves stuffed animals. And so we're trying to find something that kind of cross-referenced the original four turtles amongst those four turtles. And then the funny thing with the names was the names helped us write Lost Years, because we said, well, we know Michelangelo came across from Asia all the way back to the United States. So these are the countries he probably would hit. And then when we got the opportunity to write Lost Years, then we could fill in those blanks and say, well, this is what happened when he was in those countries. Oh, so cool. Everything kind of is this fluid process that comes together.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a question for the Escorza brothers. What's it like drawing these new turtles as opposed to the original four?
They want to say that the original turtles, they were easier, they were really look alike between each other, but these ones have a different color, different shapes, different everything is different between each other, like the personalities. And they have so many details that you have to respect them.
That's your fault.
Now they're having trouble remembering some small details, but they're happy accidents, and everything else is part of it. It's a big challenge to do it, to draw them, because of the clothes, because of the suits. They had to remember everything, and they had to get used to every single part. And when they drew Last Ronin, he was working on his own, and the work was easier for these guys. But now they have to draw the four turtles at the same time, very differently. So it's like twice the amount of work. But they love it. I mean, it's hard work, but they love it. I get the same.
I just want to say really quick is like one of the things that has been so exciting to work with the Escorza brothers, certainly with the whole team. It takes a village to make a comic book, and everybody adds something important to the mix. Whether it's what the original spark from Last Ronin #1, which was what Pete and I came up with in 1987, what Tom and I developed into it. But working with like the Escorza brothers, I don't speak Spanish very well or at all. Honestly, they don't speak a lot of English. I know, but we all communicate through visual experience. Like the first series that we did together. We do a version of the script, and Tom would sort of do a more like kind of a simplified version, but I would do all the layout. So when we were all communicating visually, and it was just this really wonderful magic, and just part of the organic nature of bringing it together. So continuing to work in the Roninverse, because it's something that Tom and we fell in, we, much like Turtles issue 1, we never thought there'd be another issue. Last Ronin was just an experiment, and just really telling the most awesome story we could, and hope for the best. And the fact that it's done what it's done to the level it has been as surprising to us as it hasn't been to anybody else. So we quickly fell in love with the Roninverse, and we want to stay in that universe. And thanks to you guys supporting what we do, it's great that we've been able to do that. So, and we love working with the Escorza brothers. They're twins. They draw exactly alike, and sometimes at the same time on the same page.
literally. Same time, the same page.
Yes, but they bring our characters to life in such a way. I say we're all like parents of these new turtles, and so we're so happy to be working with all the people on here. And Luis, who's Delgado, who's translating, is the colorist that brings it all the magic together. So he's killing it. So.
Magic.
Absolutely is, yeah.
I'll say this: for all the delays, it would be worse without Luis.
Oh, yeah.
Luis, I want to ask you, what are some unique things about coloring these turtles as opposed to some of the other turtles you've done?
Well, I think the Escorza brothers say the same thing I'm thinking. The original turtles, they were all the same, and so the colors were easier to remember. But now they're different. They have their own shades, so that is not a challenge. Actually, that is what makes them better. And I had the chance when Kevin sent Ben the original designs, all the different turtles, and then I got all the references. I saw different kind of color options, opportunities to do something different, not just the same green and on the shell and the front shell. Sure. The only one that it's the same way, it's Odin. I did that on purpose. I wanted to keep the same vibe from the original turtles, so that's why Odin has the same colors like the original turtles. But now we have Moja. Moja is, I think, she's my favorite, not only because of her personality, but because of the colors, because she's the only one with warm colors. So, and I like working with her, and I think in my mind, I see Moja as a tiny Wolverine. Oh, tinier, I don't know, because Wolverine is already tiny, but Moja's colors are like Wolverine's original costume. You know, it's brown and orange, so now that I think about it, it's even more clear to me that Moja is a total Wolverine.
Yeah, the
She
John
should,
Byrne suit.
yeah, she should have been in Wolverine and Deadpool. You know, like a variant of Wolverine. And I like Uno, and I really like Ben's idea that Uno can change skin tones depending like the camouflage. So
Ben Bishop can do that too.
yeah, Ben. I think it was Ben, or I heard it from
talked
Ben.
about
Maybe it was Tom's and Kevin's, and then I heard it from Ben.
Sure.
So I like that opportunity to change Uno with a camouflage. So it's really fun, and the only problem is like they say all the details on the clothes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. But other than that, I just love it.
We're going to jump into the ongoing IDW verse, the one that's been around for, I'm getting a little feedback, but I guess it's not too bad, that Tom and Kevin have built back in 2011, and that's been going strong ever since. I would love to talk about Mutant Nation, if we can. Actually, no, let's talk about Night Watcher first, because I'm going to get Erik up here from Mutant Nation.
I do Night Watcher.
What's that?
I
I
do
know
Night
you do
Watcher.
Night Watcher.
I do Night Watcher.
And I wanted to ask Fero. Okay, there he is. I wasn't sure if he's still down there. Okay. I'm a big fan of the 2007 series, 2007 movie, and you redesigned the suit for Night Watcher.
Yeah.
I would love if you can detail like what it was like adapting that suit, and if there's any. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna say who Night Watcher is. You can cover your ears if you want to, but it's been a while now. You should read it by now. If there's any Jenica-specific changes you made for the suit, because it's a great design.
Oh, well, when I start working on the project, Univad is the writer. I already have one design, and he already did. But he told me you can change whatever you wanted, use, adapt it, and whatever you like. You can do whatever you like with the design too. And so I started with trying to reinterpret his design to my style. Later we got notes for Nickelodeon, and I started to make different proposals. So at the end it's like a mix that the design that I already have Uni and with my. And I try to add like a scarf, a yellow scarf to the design, but the Nickelodeon told me no. Yeah, it will be too obvious, no? And no, it's better not. And they wanted to be like a symmetrical design, but no, I want the other arm to be like more armored. That was a big mistake because yeah, but it's fun. I like to draw complicated things, armors and details, but sometimes that you have to, oh no, this not the correct arm to be the shoulder. Well, but I enjoy it working.
Actually, I just want to throw in what's really been really fun. I'm a huge fan of his work. Is he also did the Stranger Things Turtles crossover, which is
it's so
absolutely
good.
fantastic.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, so even like the Night Watcher character, if you're not following the regular series, check out the Night Watcher series because it's really fun. But it was, I want to say, I first met Tom in 2011 when he started writing the series. He's one of the few writers in the history of comics that wrote 100 issues consecutively for the series and killed it for 100 issues. So I've known him for that time, and then we went from that to working on Last Ronin, but also we get to work with Sophie Campbell for the next 50 issues, which is fantastic. So a lot of the stories that you're seeing in the ongoing right now are really wonderful extensions of the work of the collective work of what Tom did originally, what Sophie did, and then including so many other people. But I love the fact that Tom's working on Mutant Nation, which is sort of a lead into what Jason Aaron's is doing with the ongoing series, which is fun. Which, if you want to mention that.
Oh yeah, so Mutant Nation is kind of the sister series right now to the new ongoing. So we had a kind of a soft I don't know. I always get the terms mixed up. Either reboot or relaunch, but it's where Jason's picking up. It's a year after issue 150, so we're in the same continuity. So Mutant Nation kind of gives us an opportunity to kind of fill in the gap for that, in that year that we've missed, but also tell stories for, when we've been doing this as long as we have. It's a pretty large cast of characters, and the funniest thing is our editors are always telling us to get rid of characters, kill characters, but every time we kill one, 3 more rise. So it just happens. There's so many cool turtle characters from history, and one of my favorite things to do is just to go cherry pick from all those earlier iterations and find new ways to kind of present them, in the modern story. But Mutant Nation is a lot like TMNT universe that we had before, where we get to kind of see these stories that you would normally not be able to fit into the main ongoing. And that's been a lot of fun for me because I came back to the ongoing series with the Armageddon game event for a little bit, but this is my chance to kind of tell some stories that are deep inside what Jason's doing, so Jason can tell the story he wants to tell without having to worry about what he's not including. So, and Mutant Nation the first issue just came out this last Wednesday, a few days ago, and I'm pretty excited, and my first story is a Raph story to kind of explain why Raph is in jail in issue 1 of the new ongoing, but I also got to play with Pepperoni, everybody's favorite. So it's a really good series, and we're going to bring in a lot of different creators that have worked on Turtles over the years to tell these stories.
Thanks. That was my next question, was getting into, so I won't ruin that one because it just came out a couple days ago. But Mutant Nation is so far, it's been great. The first issue is awesome. Please check it out. I've got a question for Tom and then Erik. Is like, for each of you, what threads from the original run are you interested in picking back up for this series? If you can tease that.
For me, you know what? I love Old Hob, and so I'd like to do some Old Hob stories. One of the things too, I kind of planted a lot of seeds in Armageddon game for something in the different dimensions. And there was characters that I brought in from the Archies. I hadn't really cherry picked from the Archies until Armageddon game, and I brought in these characters like the Nova Posse, which they were like Guardians of the Galaxy to me. They were so great to write. And so I kind of set up this idea, Shredder's off in Dimension Z right now. What's he up to right now? So that's a thread I'm really excited about picking up on. But just in general, there's characters like Old Hob, Alapex. We haven't seen her for a little bit. Some of the bigger non-turtle characters. Angel, who's one of my favorite, also known as Nobody. She's somebody I'd like to explore. But it's really kind of just revisiting those old friends that have kind of been quiet for a while, and let's see what they're up to. And then what Erik's doing, I'll let Erik speak to it. He's kind of just coming out of already a great series with Mateus. Yep. With the Destiny of the Foot Clan. So I'll let him talk about that because that story is awesome in the first issue.
Yeah, so Erik's doing the backup story in Mutant Nation. So Erik, what are you excited about that story, and anything else you'd like to help pick up from the...
Well, honestly, it just continues playing in the part of the sandbox that is my favorite, which is the magical, the more fantastical ninja area and the Foot Clan, and so it's just, that's the part of the universe that I love to play the most, and so I'm glad to get in there. And we're coming out of Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan. It's kind of a direct sequel to that. It was they asked me if I had any ideas for backups. I sent them a few. They said, "Oh no, Casey Jones going back to New York. That's the one, and Mateus is going to draw it." Oh, okay, twist my arm, and it kind of rolled through there, and it came together so fast. I'm already done.
Oh wow! Now, Mateus, you designed Casey's new look. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
What went into it?
Well, first thing I wanted to do with Casey's new look on Untold Destiny was to give a shout out to Erik, because he wrote some Ghostbusters in the past, and so I put the jumpsuit from the Ghostbusters in Casey Jones. Yeah, that was my original plan, but Nickelodeon didn't like that too much, so I had to throw a bulletproof jacket over it, so just to show the Ghostbusters jumpsuit between scenes. And his new mask, I don't know, maybe it was something that was in the back of my head from other versions of Casey Jones, but I always like when it resembles a skull or something like that, so I throw that over there, and well, I'm having fun with it, yeah, for sure.
Is there
Yeah,
anything else?
I was saying, a lot of people don't know how many characters you actually designed.
Yeah.
For the original series, from Pigeon Pete to, well, besides the Secret History of the Foot Clan, which was
Yeah, I did a new design.
brilliant,
for,
excellent.
Rocksteady and Bebop, Pigeon Pete,
Nobody.
Nobody.
Was fantastic.
Herman,
Metalhead.
Metalhead.
Yeah, so he was doing all these fantastic sort of
Leatherhead as
turnaround.
well, yeah.
Leatherhead, yeah. So, but yeah, he was just
And
been
my
killing
favorite
it.
probably is the hermit crab. Herman? That's his name? Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
That's one of my
So-
favorite original characters. Like, I think Old Hob is probably a big favorite overall, like, IDW original character. But Herman is just this goofy, wonderful character that
He's
I love.
fantastic.
So, yeah.
He's great. So
And he feels like a Playmate's toy, you know?
Yeah.
Herman lets me get my old military guy out of me sometimes.
No, besides the Secret History of the Foot Clan, then you did Shredder in Hell, which is just you killed it, and it's so fun to see you and what you and Erik are doing right now. Besides,
man.
he's lent so much history to Turtles.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with Mutination without spoiling much. But Erik did a great job because it's pretty much like fighting comic book. It's just action, non-stop action. Both issues so far, the ones I drew, but still you get some character development in between the fights, which is great. So yeah,
Cool.
congrats Erik for that.
All right, so I'm going to kick some people off the stage, which, again, is very awkward.
I can switch.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys don't mind, you volunteer for your dismissal instead of me making. And then Sara and Gavin, can you guys come up? Yeah, you can stick around. They can go if they want to. That's fine. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yes, welcome Gavin and Sara.
Feels like oh, now everyone's leaving us.
So, Gavin, what was it like for you to write and draw your own turtle story for Black, White, and Green?
Oh, surreal. I think when I was originally brought in by Charles, I saw the progression of Sophie getting to become an artist and a writer. So I was like, oh, that's a possibility. That's really cool. So when I was finishing up my main run on the main series, I was having a call with my editors, and I just sort of like pitched them the idea. I was just like, hey, have you guys thought of like doing an anthology series? And they were already planning Black, White, and Green. So I just happened to be there at the right time, and I just go, oh, cool. Can I get one? And they let me do it, and to showcase me as more of a writer than just an artist, because I think the whole book was designed to bring in new people.
Sure.
But bringing me in as a writer was a whole different thing. So a lot of that process was really cool. The fact that they let me call it Buddy Count and they let me use the Body Count logo. Thank you for that, Kevin. and like kind of cross it out just to write Buddy in. It was awesome, and I just wanted to do a team up book with Mikey and Casey. That I feel like that's a great team up that we don't get to see a lot of. It was just really fun, especially with that series being sort of out of the main universe continuity, that I could kind of give them their own voices that wasn't established by anything else like Tom or Sophie had done. So I got to get a little Frank Millery with Casey Jones's dialogue, which was fun. But yeah, it was a blast.
And another like great story set in a pet store, which a lot of Turtles stories seem to have happened. Like
Yeah.
the original series. Lots of stuff happens in pet stores.
Yeah. And I got to name that after my friend Jared, who had just passed away, which was a nice little tribute. So, and then and I got to make a joke with Casey because like he comes across the warehouse where the Viper Boys, a gang I got to create for that. Their hideout had like a vat of ooze, and like I get to have Casey make this dumb joke. It's like, one thing I know for sure is that like pet store animals and ooze don't mix, which is the whole premise. Yeah.
Wait, I gotta give you some headcanon though. So Herman and Mondo in my head come from a pet store that was run by a stoner dude in a crusty old Vietnam vet, and they just took their personalities when they were mutated. That's why.
We need several parts of that story. Like, we need a whole thing.
Listen, I love drawing Herman with you, so like let's.
Finally, we're going to go to the Saturday Morning Adventure universe, which I love that series, and you guys have done a great continuation of it, which is drawn by, a lot of issues are drawn by Sara, and were written by Erik. So for both of you, we'll start with Sara. What's your favorite non-turtle mutant or character that you've gotten to revisit in this new iteration?
Favorite non
Non-turtle, like not one of the four turtles, but like
Right.
one of the weird rogues gallery or that you got to kind of bring back in the series?
Okay, weirdly, like Mr. Og, and I.
Because you got to make him a decent character instead of a terrible
Well,
one.
because Erik definitely wrote Mr. Og with the same quirkiness, of course, that we all fondly remember from the 1987 episodes where he ate porcelain and pottery, but kept that wackiness about the character. But he became through Erik's story just such a sassy, funny character to carry on that meta humor. And I have a ball. Like, my favorite thing to draw is always body language and facial expressions when I'm interpreting the script. The frustrated theater kid in me gets a second life as an actor through these characters. And Mr. Og, weirdly, I never would have guessed that he would become one of my favorites to draw because of mainly, really, because of that script. But the dialogue, just him slowly losing his mind as Donatello's actually the one who's being a mischievous imp in many ways and outsmarting him in issue 8 was just an absolute ball to portray. So, yeah, never thought I would have said that, but Mr. Og definitely.
Erik, any favorite character to revisit?
Actually, it would have been Mr. Og, but I'm going to go with Ace Duck, who didn't have didn't have a big part in the cartoon, but the pitch for the one-shot, the April one-shot, was April meets Ace Duck, approved. And then I got time to writing and realized I hadn't written a story yet or an outline, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And it kind of just all exploded out organically to make him more, Indiana Jones. And writing it that way made it so much fun. And I want to write Ace again. I want to bring him back somehow. I don't know when, but yeah.
How did you decide what he was going to be? Because it's not clear what he is in the original cartoon.
Yeah. It panic. Deadline coming up.
Sure.
That was it.
Now, Luis is the colorist in that cartoon. You grew up in the cartoon, right, Luis?
Yes, of course I did.
Is there anybody that you were thrilled to get to color now?
Of course, yeah, totally. When I saw the IDW was doing the Saturday Morning Adventures, before I joined the team, I was so jealous that I wasn't part of it. But now I'm part of it, so now I'm excited about it again. Because we did, when I was doing Ghostbusters with Erik, we did the universe from the cartoon, and that was a lot of fun. And then we did G.I. Joe, and that was also from the cartoon, so that was good. And I always thought the Ninja Turtles deserved to be Saturday morning cartoon book, and it happened, and I'm so proud to be there, so happy, because it feels like going back to my childhood, to my basics, and so many wacky characters that I actually forgot because it's been 30 years since I watched the cartoon, and you don't have it in Mexico, so accessible.
Sure.
So now I go back and I try to watch the episodes from the characters like Mr. Og or I don't know, from Tempestra, or all the characters, Mona Lisa. So I go back to them, so I remember that. And I like to go with the same colors, but there are so many options because they were inconsistent, the colors.
Oh, from frame to frame.
Yeah, from frame to frame. So I try some colors, and then I picked the wrong colors. Oh. I have to recolor it. So it's a lot of fun, but it's worth it. I mean, I get to work with Erik again. I've been working with Erik since 2011. I think I've done over 115 or 120 books with Erik, so I understand how he works. I understand his humor. He has you don't know this because he's kind of quiet, but he has one of the best humors ever. And he does this on the scripts that he always says that written by Erik Burnham, colored by the amazing Dan Shannon or Sara, and then colored by the wacky Luis Delgado. He always adds a little joke at the beginning of each script, so I always like that. And now I have the opportunity to work with Sara, and Sara's art is so good. I mean, like you said, the facial expressions. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and I get to work with these guys and this universe that I grew up with, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to be here.
Cool. I'm going to throw this to Kevin for one last question. Kevin, is there an obscure 87 character that you want to see show up that now Erik will have to do? Anybody strange that you think needs to come back?
Man, that's a really good question, because there's been after 100, I've loved I was just side talking with Tommy, because I love the Dimension X series when they brought Ace Duck back, and it was all the different. Yeah. So you get to get the Cuddly Cowlick and all this stuff. So one of the great things about when Tom originally pitched and started designing IDW series because he's a fan of the 2000 animated series, but he's a fan of all the other Turtle series. So he was, we sort of go through this list of Turtles Adventures, Turtle cartoon shows, Fast Forward, all these things that we get to pick different characters, sort of reimagine them and bring them back into the universe. And I think, man, we covered
We covered a lot.
we covered a lot. I want to see, the Pigeon Pete movie, of course, like everybody. We could do Ice Cream Kitty and Pigeon Pete teamed up or something.
I mean, I think the impossible task of making the neutrinos actually cool characters.
Okay, so the neutrinos. Look, that. But no, here's what happened. So there is a story behind that. So my daughter has the VHS. She was watching them, and I saw that episode because I was in the Marines in the '80s, and I kind of missed the craze. I was off doing other things, and so I didn't really see
Fighting
the turtles.
for our country.
Yeah, I didn't really see the turtles in their that heyday. So I was actually kind of watching them through my kids' eyes. And one day she was watching on the little TV that episode with the hot rodding teenagers, and I was just cracking up. I was watching it, but there's always you can always find more in anything. You can find more in another person. You can find more in yourself. There's always more if you look. And I was watching it, and they were saying, "Oh, we come from this planet that's always at war." And to me, inside all that goofiness, that was horrifying to me. Sure. That idea that these kids have to steal this hot rod and come to this other dimension because it was bogus, dude. They're fighting wars all the time. So I just always remembered that part of the story. So when it came time Bobby, our editor at the time, he said, let's do some stuff in the other dimensions. We gotta, with Turtles is weird just by itself. So, but it's weird too because it works in so many different genres, and so sci-fi, horror, gritty street violence, and so we said let's do something in the other dimensions because we got to kind of expand this Krang story. And I said I'm going to bring in those neutrinos, and I said but these are going to be like the neutrinos by way of John Connor, so these are like the Terminator neutrinos, but at the same time because I'm so beholden to where the source. I've said they're still going to say Daddy-O, so that's not going to change. And why not? Because they're from another planet. Maybe that's how they talk on that planet. But I wanted to kind of like dig into the horror aspect of it, which is the constant war. But also there's kind of a charm that comes with that they maintain from that cartoon. So there's always inspiration if you look hard enough. And that was something that just stuck in my head. And then lo and behold, I got the chance to kind of exploit it a little bit later on.
Thanks, Daddy-O.
Daddy-O.
We're going to move on to the Q&A section, if that's cool with everybody. I'm going to invite everybody else back up here, and I'm going to wander around and ask people questions from the audience. Yeah, all right, we'll start off in a second here. Standing room only, kind of.
Yep.
I saw your hand go up first. I'm going to go to you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Cozy.
Oh. Yeah, I know, right?
I think more people up here than in the audience.
We don't have Jeff
Yeah. So who's your question for?
My question is for Sara and Erik. I've been loving the Saturday morning adventures, probably way more than a man my age should. And I wanted to know, is there any chance in future issues we'll see either Rex 1 or the 87 neutrinos again?
I hope so.
There's a chance, yes.
Affirmative, Daddy-O.
Let's see, who's next here? Erik?
So I got a two-parter. One is actually not a question. Gavin, something I want to give to you.
Uh-oh.
These are beautiful.
So, wow.
Did this for you. So
That's cool.
this way.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
So it is reversible. So
Go with you that. I'll wrap myself up.
but please, no, I do have a question. I've always been curious of when we're going to bring back Kirby in the comics.
Oh, Kirby. Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, actually, let me, I'm going to take over the mic just for a second, and then we get time for some more questions. But I want to, just reminded me of a couple things. I just want to introduce a little bit of royalty in our audience right now. Is the guy over there in a ugly plaid shirt. Stand up. I'm teasing him. This is my Uncle Quentin Eastman. back when Pete and I were struggling cartoonists, and we came up with, when I did this drawing, and then Pete did a drawing, taught my drawing, then from that we did a drawing of 4 turtles, all with different weapons. I dubbed them Ninja Turtles. Pete added the Teenage Mutant to the title, and so we came up with the idea. We fell in love with the turtles. It was so silly, so stupid, but we loved it dearly. We were trying to figure out a way to get them out into the world, into the comic. So my Uncle Quentin used to sell art supplies, so he'd give us, get discounts on our art supplies. And so we put together a little business plan and to try to con him out of $1,200 so we could fund the first issue of 3,000 Comics. And so I think halfway through, I think he had such love for me and what we were doing and struggling. So he wrote the check without, I think he was probably pretty sure he'd never get paid back. But he supported his nephew and he wrote a check. And that's how those first comics came to be. And he's here with his daughter Sara, who lives in Dover. And it's Michael, right? Is it Michael's? He's in Dover High. So without Quentin, the Turtles would not have existed. So we love him. We appreciate him. But I also want to say Quentin's going to be signing. There's a wonderful guy, Rich Horn, who literally after almost 40 years tracked down the original Turtle printing film from that very first issue. He's done a reprint of it. He's got a display of the actual original printing film. He's done a reprint of it, which includes the special thanks to Quentin Eastman. So Quentin's going to be sitting over there after we finish the signing here. So if you want to get something awesome added to your book, to your thing, go and say hi to Quentin, and he'll tell you more stories. Nothing embarrassing about me, though. I already paid him to say nothing bad. So I wanted to point that out, and I also want to point out a good friend of ours, Jeff Whitman, who's here from Nickelodeon. Stand up for a second. Jeff's like probably one of the biggest Turtle fans in the world. Sometimes that's a problem. Mostly not. But he's a gatekeeper of all things we do, and he allows all these things to happen. And this leads back to Kirby, because my friend Trevor, who's sitting over there, I'm going to make you stand up for a second. He's from NECA Toys. Yeah! So if you guys are loving all those things like the Jack Kirby action figure that they put out, the Mirage figures, they've done all the last Ronin action figures. There's a lot of surprises, a lot of cool stuff they're doing, so we're super proud to have these guys with us, and this is awesome. So, all right, I'm handing it back over to you.
No, please, that's great. What was your question?
Will you be bringing Ice Cream Kitty back?
Well, we're in negotiations for, was it $100 million feature film?
Uncle Quentin can write the check.
No, Ice Cream Kitty was if you guys don't know, I really love I love all the Turtle series. I love the 2012 Nickelodeon series. When they first brought it back, it was literally around the same time Tom was developing, and we were working on the IDW series universe. And so I was part of it, and I used to go up to the studio, and they'd call me Obi-Wan, and but they said they wanted me to do a voice of like a cool superhero character or a bad guy or something. And I remember George Clooney did the voice of a dog in South Park. He's like, woof, woof. And so Ciro wanted to bring this cat back from the Michelangelo, the original Mirage Studios. We did a Christmas special that had Michelangelo found a cat named Clunk. And so they wanted to bring this cat, and they made it, Michelangelo was goofing around in the series. Accidentally, the cat licks some ice cream with some mutagen on it and turns into a cat made of ice cream. And I was like, I'm doing that voice. And they're like, no, we'll come up with something better. And I'm like, no, I want to be Ice Cream Kitty, damn it. But I'd love to see Ice Cream Kitty brought back.
Shredder here.
So I just want to say that I love the Batman versus Ninja Turtle series, so that was awesome. And the animated movie that was made was great. I love the IDW universe, everything from the origin, how they're reincarnations of the past. That was amazing. Love that. Would there ever be a chance of maybe having a movie animated universe similar to how WB does with their stuff? Because I think you guys and the stories you tell is easily a great amalgamation of everything Ninja Turtles and what everything we grew up loving.
Jeff? Yeah. That's high on our wish list, obviously. But I mean, and going back to Jeff, one thing that's really changed with Jeff taking over is not only is he a huge supporter of what we're doing in the comics, but if you look on the toy shelves right now, there are toys for IDW, for Last Ronin, for pretty much everything that's going on with Turtles right now, and Jeff has a big part of that because he really is our biggest cheerleader over at Nickelodeon and Paramount. And so, but that's also leading to things like, you know, there's a movie in development for Last Ronin, there's a pretty big video game in development. I would never say no, but that's personally, that's one of my big wishes because I do love those DC animated movies. I think they do a good job. They pick certain storylines and they present them really well. So I'd love to see it. And
well, you did a game based on the IDW series, and I want to say that also Mateus. Was it? Yeah, thanks to Jeff and what they put together. Was it Loyal Subjects?
The toys, yes.
Yeah, Loyal Subjects they've adapted most of Mateus' designs, turtle designs from the IDW series. So the first toys out there that are of that specific genre, we love them. I was hunting them down at San Diego this year, like literally running around trying to get
Mutants
them.
in Manhattan game.
Dark Leo
is your those are all your designs too, Mutants in Manhattan. So that video, the first big video game we did, Mutants in Manhattan, which to me is like kind of like that was. I felt like that was kind of like the litmus test for an animated show because I really liked the voice actors they had, and those are the voices I hear in my head when I write the Turtles. So I said it can work, you know, whether you like the game or not. I said those cutscenes were fun, and those actors did a great job and really brought them to life. So maybe someday, I hope so. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, totally. We have time for one more question. Justin, I'll go with you, and then I'm going to ask for a big picture of everybody up here in a minute. Justin, last question. I'm sorry.
Justin Cooper, Epic Tales from the Sewers podcast. I have a question, the obvious question everybody's going to ask, and maybe since Jeff's here, he could ask this. Crossovers are so important in the Turtles universe. We were talking about Stranger Things. When are we going to get our Daredevil crossover? We have Kevin, who just did the cover. So, you know,
that's another one high on our list.
Well,
I just want to call dibs right now.
Stand in line, sucker.
I'll fight.
any chance that's something that's in the works, or would we see something more with DC rather than Marvel? Or?
Well, it's funny. One of the things that's really cool. What we've loved about so many different ways. You know, somebody mentioned the Tom adapting when he adapted the Turtles universe and brought back reincarnation. So many different things that made the IDW series unique into itself. We've loved that we've been able to do crossovers with Ghostbusters, which is really fun. Stranger Things, which is really fun. And as much as we'd love to see a Daredevil series, one of the things that I pitched DC, the heads at IDW and DC was doing a Turtles Commandy crossover. I was a huge Jack Kirby fan with Commandy. And so they talked to DC Comics, and DC said, well, nobody knows who Commandy is. Why don't you do Turtles Batman? And we were like, we didn't know that was on the table. So Freddie Williams is also here. And Freddie Williams, along with James Tynion, adapted. They did 3 6-issue series of Turtles Batman crossover. And I know there's a couple other ones in the works. Was it Power Rangers? Was it a Turtles?
Master of the Universe.
Oh, Freddie's doing Master of the Universe too. So we love it. So, Turtles Daredevil would be a dream come true, and I know that'll happen one day. So
they do also own Godzilla, right? So
yeah,
you guys have the rights.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Erik, thank you. Let's give these guys a round of applause.